Hey guys, it's Mr. Stevens, and we're going to be talking about getting around the internet. But first, this is a pretty hard lesson, so let's do a quick preview. You're going to be hearing a lot about an internet browser. Now the word browse, right here, means to look. So a browser is going to help us look around the internet. Now right here, you'll notice this giant white bar. That's called the address bar. We're going to be talking a lot about typing in a web page's address. Alright, first, the browser software. Like I just said, we're going to use that to look around the internet. Now there's lots of browsers. Right here is Internet Explorer, over here this is Firefox, down here is Google Chrome, and there's lots of others. Now the key here is that the browser is not a website. It's the software we use to go to a website. So this is the same web page, but I've gotten to it with 3 different browsers. You could think of it as a car. Okay? So a browser is like a car in the sense that it takes us places. Next, browser parts. Most browsers have similar parts. For example, they'll almost always have a back button. If you go to the wrong page, no big deal. Click on that. It takes you back 1 page. The forward button does the opposite. It'll take you forward 1 page. Now this giant white bar is probably the most important tool today. That's where we're going to type in the web page's address. Over here is the home button, and we're going to talk about that more later. Over here is the bookmarks or favorites button. Now the key here is to remember that star. Just like you guys are star students, we're going to give a star to our favorite or most used sites. And then over here is refresh. Sometimes you'll see that as 2 green arrows, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. Alright, so web addresses. So right here is a pretty long address. Now, there's lots of different web addresses out there, but they'll all have this same pattern. There'll be a beginning, a middle, and an end. At school, the beginning will almost always be www. Or period. Then we're going to type in the middle. Here it's PBS Kids, and then another dot so we can do our ending. PBS Kids happens to be run by an organization, so it's .org. Now on this one, Starfall is in the middle, then a period or a dot. It's run by a company, so it's .com. Now this one is run by Kentucky's government, so it's .gov. Now you don't need to remember every web address you come across. The important thing is there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. Alright, so let's talk about some common mistakes when people type addresses. First, you got to make sure you don't spell it wrong. Right here I have too many R's and too many L's. Ooh, here's a good one. Take just a moment and see if you can see what's wrong with this. Alright, if you said it was missing a beginning and an end, good for you, absolutely. Just like I said, there's 3 parts. You need the beginning, the middle, and the end. Also, no spaces. For the web address, we're going to leave the spaces out. Next, let's talk about bookmarks. Now this is very important. One thing that I really love about a computer is that it saves things for us. So we can actually save or store our websites for later. So I'm up here, I'm on starfall.com, and I go over to my bookmarks. Now I can come down here and say bookmark this page. If I bookmark it, watch this. When I come back to it later, so now I'm over on Jefferson County's website, but if I click on my favorites, whoa, check this out. It's right here waiting for me. So if I click on that, it'll take me right back to it because the bookmark saved it for me. Next, let's talk about hyperlinks. Here's a hyperlink right here. Normally they're a different color and they're underlined. Now, the links connect sites. Here's what I mean. If I'm over here and I click on this link, watch what happens. It'll take this website and put it up into the address bar. So I used to be here, but the link has taken me to the new site. Next, the Home button. If you want to get back to the home page, just click the picture of a house. At school, that would take you back to the JCPS page. Now, if you've used a computer for long, you know that they mess up sometimes. So, let's see over here. It says, unable to connect to the internet. Well, that sounds scary, but that's what the refresh button is for. Now, this one happens to be a circle with an arrow. And like I said earlier, sometimes that might be 2 green arrows. So if I click on that, I don't have this anymore. I'll get a brand new page. Okay, so if something starts messing up, just try the refresh button. Now, I always like to have an emergency page. An emergency plan. So you can always turn off the monitor and tell an adult. If something weird pops up or something uncomfortable, don't panic, just turn your monitor off. And at school, you can tell me or another teacher. And at home, you can tell an adult that you live with. Now, this is me citing my sources. I used all of these websites to make my presentation better. So right here, I'm giving them credit for helping me out. And we'll talk more about that in the next lesson.